It looks like we have participants joining, so welcome to all. We will be just waiting few seconds for everyone to log in, and then we will launch the poll that you can follow. My name is Farhan Farouk. I'm the researcher from Smart Energy Technologies at Smart Innovation Norway. So we welcome you all for the ELAN webinar. So today's host will be Thomas Mikkelsen, the CEO of Gecko Global. So we will be following up with some of the poll questions, and also if you have any questions related to technicalities of the platform, please write it in the chat. So in the chat box, you can see that you can send a message to all panelists. Please do that if you have any questions. If you are not able to hear voice or any other technicalities, I will be here to help. And meanwhile, when we are running the whole presentation, Thomas will be explaining you more on the different aspects of the webinar. So we will wait a few more seconds, and then we will launch a poll, and please answer the poll accordingly. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Hi, Elizabeth. Good morning. Good morning, Paul. Good to see you here. We are just waiting for everyone to log in. So attendees are joining at the moment, and then we will be beginning in few minutes.
Okay. How do we recognize that we are online and that the attendees can see the webinar?
We have, I'm able to follow it, and also we have Brian joining as an attendee. So he will be keeping an eye on the things. Brian, you can talk now.
Yes, hi everyone.
Hi, good morning.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah. And would you recommend that we are on mute and remove the camera for when we're not in the session, or for the first session, at least for the other presentation, or we're automatically will be not?
I would prefer if every speaker can do that, because then we don't keep the internet on a high bandwidth, so everyone can have a nice smooth running session.
Okay. And in case we need to quickly go to the washroom, I guess we can just log out and log in again with the same link without interfering with any of the. Okay, perfect. Yep. Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. Okay, everyone. We will be launching the poll. Only the attendees can vote on the poll. And please vote according to your preference. And Then Thomas will be following up with the rest of the webinar. And if you still have any questions, please feel free to write in the chat. I see some new people joining. So please, if you have any technical questions that are not clear for your side, please feel free to write it in the chat, and we will try to assist you in the best means.
So, welcome everybody to this webinar, REM Forum and ELAN. We are very happy to have you all aboard here. It will be an interesting day, half a day at least. We had all planned for a different way of having this workshop. As you all know, the coronavirus obviously changed everything, but I think what we have managed to do is to create quite an interesting webinar today. We'll be launching now the webinar, a day where we will be discussing different topics in relation to the energy transition, specifically focusing on customers and on the opportunity to actually create CO2 neutral universities, for example, or other areas. We have a lot of knowledge, a lot of interesting findings from our project. And we would, of course, like and welcome you all to see what we've achieved so far. We have a panel discussion where we'll be discussing on a more fundamental state, what is it that it takes to actually engage people in relation to the energy transition. We'll be looking at the business models in relation to how can you actually make money out of the energy transition? Are there any ways that we should focus on, and we need to change fundamentally things in the system in order to achieve that? We have also, luckily, a lot of other projects from our stakeholder community participating and giving their view on what they found in relation to the energy transition from their different angles and different perspectives. So all in all, it will be a super interesting day. We're almost there right now to start the presentations. However, we still have a few minutes left of the quiz. So if you're there, you will be able to still take the quiz 3-4 minutes more before we are actually starting the presentations. Just a very brief word about myself. So my name is Thomas Mikkelsen. I am the CEO and founder of a consultancy focusing on the energy transition, specific focus on the customers. I have a long background in the energy industry, focusing almost always on the customer side and the dynamics in relation to understanding what does it take to actually change behavior, to go on a new path, and from very different angles, from the side of the big companies producing kits for smart home equipment, to the other side, the utilities, and now lately as a consultant. I'll not dwell too much on myself, but just go back and say that this webinar today is, of course, a high-level webinar. As what also said in the introduction, you will be able to ask questions in the chat, and that should, of course, be done. And I'll try to collect that best as I can during the webinar, your questions, and ask them in the end of the presentations. So the way it will be handled is that the webinar will be following the agenda, and I'll just take a brief look at that. we are almost there with the final registrations. I'm giving a very short welcoming speech right now, and then there will be an introduction to the ELAN project, and then we'll go into presentations of the actual pilots in the project, and have also some views in relation to technical tools. Then there will be an interactive coffee tea break. We will have an interesting, interactive, and dynamic Kahoot quiz coming up. So we are getting people back after the 20 minutes break, because after the break and the session 2, there will be also very interesting projects presenting themselves. The Compile project will start off at 10:25. Then we'll have the 45 minutes panel discussion on a high level in relation to understanding what does it take to create customer engagement, community engagement. We'll look into business models, and we will also be looking at our sister projects here, Integrity, C3 Unica, and I will end up with a session wrap up in the end, and hopefully around 12:30 we will have had a very interesting day. So this was the plan. I'll do my utmost to take you all through this in the best way. I'm very happy now to give the floor to Heidi Tuiskula, who will be presenting very briefly the ELAN project, what it is that we are doing, what we have achieved so far. As you can see here, Heidi is from Finland, but she works in the Smart Innovation Norway, and she has a background from a more engineering perspective, and she is leading our ELAN project on the best way. So Heidi, please feel free to share your presentation and fit into this webinar as the first speaker.
Thank you, Thomas, for the warm welcome. And also from my side, very much welcome to the webinar. Let me just check that you can now see me, and soon you can see my presentation.
Meanwhile, Heidi, I will just quickly announce for everyone that for those who have answered the poll already, we have received you. I will be relaunching the poll for some people who are joining in new and they're not seeing it. So you can answer it again. And after Heidi's presentation, we can even show you the results.
Excellent. Thank you, Farhan.
Yes, we can see your screen, Heidi.
Great. And if I could... All right, now it works. Some small hiccups in the beginning. As Thomas introduced, I am the scientific coordinator in the ELAN project. I work for Smart Innovation Norway. We are research and innovation organization located in Halden in Norway. Halden is a rather small and lovely town close to the Swedish border. Currently, I'm located in my Finnish home office in an even smaller town in Karkkila. Due to the corona issues. As Thomas said, we had first very different plan for this workshop, but to keep us all safe, we decided to move to more, let's say, webinar-based location. However, I would still like to use a small moment to promote the original plan, which was to organize the workshop as a pre-conference workshop for the REM Forum, and just hope that you will still remember the original plan, and to promote that the new date for the event is on September 10th and 11th. So let us keep our fingers crossed that we are allowed to travel again and meet there. It's an excellent conference, so I warmly recommend to join it. I will give you a brief update, an introduction to Eland. So in a brief, you can now see the different partners. So as you know, we are talking about Horizon 2020 project. In specific, it's innovation action, which means that we are more close to the let's say market than academic research. We've been now running it for a bit over a year. So let's say 1/3 of the project is done, and a lot of progress has been made. We have 12 European partners and 2 Indian partners in the project. We have 3 pilots in Europe and 2 simulated pilots in India. The whole project is about open innovation through collaboration with stakeholders and citizens. So we've included them from the beginning to make sure that the project will really develop solutions that benefit the community in the end and will be actually viable for the users. So what we are focusing is let's say isolated areas or energy islands or local energy systems, whatever you want to call them. And we aim to bring innovation both in the technology, in community, and in the business level. We are going to develop a toolbox which has tools for all these 3 angles. So you have usable tools to engage the community. You have tools to choose the right business models. You have tools to actually manage your assets efficiently. The plan is to have the toolbox modular and customizable to specific local requirements. Already we have very different pilots to show that the same tools can be used to solve very different challenges. We also want to make sure that it's expandable to incorporate new tools, and also that it functions well with the legacy systems. Just to give a brief update on the partners, as Thomas said, we have Gecko Global focusing on the community engagement issues. Smart Innovation Norway is leading the project together with the University of Girona. And Smart Innovation Norway is also focusing on the business models and exploitation. We have pilot partners like Inicom, University of Tarkvist, and Port of Borg. And then we have Schneider Electric focusing on integration of the tools. We have Intercom Telecom, Rainer Lemoine Institute, and University of Girona developing the tech tools. University of St. Gallen is collaborating in the business models. CRESC, as a cluster organization in Romania, is supporting the communication and dissemination and exploitation. IFE is focusing on the risk analysis and safety and security aspects. And then the Indian partners, we have BSES Yamuna Power from Delhi area, and we are currently finalizing the negotiations with Orville Consulting from Southern India for another pilot. In very simple graphic way, this is what we are talking about. So we have a local energy community, we have the people living there. In that community area, we have different assets, whether they are production or storage or consumption. And these can be from different, let's say, energy vectors, meaning that we can have electric energy, but also we can have chemical energy in the form of gas, for example. And of course, in most local communities, we have some kind of thermal energy. And the toolbox is aiming to manage the use of these assets, these different assets from different energy vectors in the best possible way. If we take a look at the assets ELAN project is focusing, this is an overview of the assets we currently have in our different pilots. It doesn't mean that every pilot has every asset, but this is an overview. So this is also the part of the modular toolbox, that it can be adapted to different asset combinations. And in this graph, you can also see the already existing connections between the different assets. And for these, to manage these kind of connections and to use them in the best possible ways, the ELAN consortium is developing the toolbox. Then if we take a look at the, in my opinion, the most, let's say, complicated picture, this is the whole overview of what the ELAN project is about. So as you can see, inside the ELAN toolbox, covered with security, safety, and privacy, we have the three set of tools: community building, business development, and technology tools. Inside the technology tools, we have a lot of different tools. Some are focusing on the data management, some are focusing on the data analytics, and some are focusing on the decision support services. And these tools are then connected through Enterprise Service Bus to the specific pilot locations. And as you can see, the fourth pilot box says replication sites. So we are not only focusing on covering the existing partners and pilots, but we also already during the project trying to find replication sites and being as open as possible to really share the knowledge and create these businesses. Then if I go through quickly the three pilots we have in Europe. So the Norway pilot is Port of Borg. As we all know, a port is a major hub from sea to shore and vice versa. And Port of Borg has a strong focus on the green shift, both nationally and also internationally. They want to show the example of how to run the port operations in a sustainable way. Especially, Port of Borg is focusing on reducing, of course, the CO2 emissions and energy usage, but also to broaden the consciousness of energy production uses and efficiency in a field, in an industry field where this has not been so much, let's say, concerned previously. There is a strong interest in covering the transport and logistics through sustainable ways. Also, new business models to modernize the port operations are very much of interest in Port of Borg. Then we have the university campus at the Valahia University of Targovist. You will hear after my presentation much more about this pilot. So I will just quickly say that this is a very interesting living lab where the students and the employees of the university are together learning and developing a sustainable campus. And this is a very very interesting application, and of course it has a lot of replication potential across Europe and beyond that. The Spanish pilot is located in Valka Technology Park. This is a very interesting collaboration with the tech company Inicom, acting as an ESCO, and then the actual location owned by the Aragon regional government. Thus, the whole stakeholder involvement and community building is very much interesting there. It is the participation in Eland is very important for the technology park to really harvest benefits from the different technology solutions they already have there regarding renewable energy and sustainability. If we look at the exploitation beyond the European economic area, we also have a strong focus in India. As I told earlier, we are collaborating with BYBL, which is a DSO in Delhi area. And it has been so far a very interesting and fruitful collaboration, and especially the India collaboration provides us an interesting view on how we can develop tech solutions in Europe that can also be beneficial for very different cases, which are located in India and other, for example, in Asian countries. And we, as I said, we have ongoing negotiations and finalizing contracts with another pilot partner in southern India, Orwell Consulting. We are very happy to get them on board. That's gonna really broaden our scope in Eland project and bring us even more coverage in India. So I'm rather excited about that. This is my final slide to show, just to end the presentation, to really show that challenges and pilot cases are rather different in there than they are actually in Europe, but still same solutions there is still community, there is still assets that needs to be managed, there is still the business aspects that needs to be handled. So sort of different locations, a bit different challenges, but still we strongly believe that utilizing the toolbox can help them too. I think I've almost used all my time. So just to leave a few minutes, if there's any questions or comments, I think the way to do this is to write them in the chat and we'll follow up through that. Or Farhan, do you have other ideas?
Thank you very much, Heidi. Very interesting, I think. There will be a small question and answer coming up also on your screens now. So we will also leave 2 minutes for you to answer that. But maybe while people are doing that, Heidi, would you be able to elaborate a little upon the timing now of the different pilots? When are they going to start? When we will be able to see some results coming out of the pilots?
Absolutely, absolutely. So basically, we are now long way on developing the specific tools, which Sergio will provide you an overview a bit later today. And in few months, we will already start some activities. Well, let's say the pilots have been already building, let's say, building the infrastructure and working on that. But in few months, we will start some data collection activities, and then gradually, let's say during the next 12 months, we will implement the different tools. And of course, already now, we have had activities with regards to community building and the business modeling aspects. So, but from the technology point of view, let's say if we talk about the actual pilots live and ELAND tech tools operating, I would say that the timeline is during the next year.
Okay, that sounds very good. Everybody's information on the website eland82020.eu. You will be able to follow the actual implementations of the pilots, what will happening there. There are the opportunity also to register to the newsletter, of course, where we'll be presenting the different things that we are doing there. So feel free, if you are not already subscribing, to go in there and have a look. There's a question here from Romain to all panelists, but since there are actually still 3-4 minutes left, we might be able to ask you also, Heidi, about this. Did you already identify legal barriers that are common to the 3 demo sites in Europe? So the actual legislation, has that been part of the discussion also in developing these implementations?
Absolutely, it has been part of the discussions, and of course, as in any demo project, in many cases you can, let's say, go over the legislative barriers due to the fact that you are only demonstrating something. But as our aim is to create solutions that have a viability from the business point of view, we have identified some, I would not say total barriers, but let's say if you want to harvest the best financial benefits, there are current limitations regarding, for example, participation for assets to participate in multiple markets, which needs to be solved. There are some ownership issues, and there is a huge disruption coming. If we really think about what I would say the most exciting idea of ELAN toolbox that it could be implemented by anyone. It doesn't need to be anymore a DSO or a local energy provider, but it could be just a neighborhood who wants to take ownership of their own use and own production.
Exactly. And that's very interesting. And of course, that's kind of a cliffhanger also for the discussions later on in the session 2 about the community engagement and how we are seeing people maybe to start building these communities around the globe around energy. So thank you very much, Heidi. I'll take over the screen again. And introduce the next speaker. So Dr. Doran Lett is from Târgoviste University in Romania. The university has been working as part of the ELAN project on reducing CO2 reductions from many angles. Dorian has been leading this work with his enthusiasm, and it's always a pleasure to work with Dorian when things comes to looking into a green and more sustainable. So I'm very happy that Dorian is able to join us here and present the work and the ideas behind the implementation of the pilot in the University of Târgoviste. Dorian, please feel free to break in and take the floor. We're looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you, Thomas. And if you'll allow me to share my screen. Okay. So, hello everyone. I want to greet our audience and thank them for staying indoors during these times. And on the same note, I want to thank the organizers for this opportunity and salute all ELAN partners present. My name is Dorin Letz, and I'm a senior scientist at the Institute of Multidisciplinary Research for Science and Technology from Valahia University, located in Romania. During my presentation, I'm going to tackle the issue of carbon-neutral university campuses. In the end, I hope you will identify best practice scenarios and that our efforts will inspire you to actively move towards a zero-carbon economy. Valahia University of Târgoviste is young compared to other academia entities in Romania. In its 25 years of existence, our university is the only one building a campus site from scratch. This was a continuous struggle, which in 2018 brought all faculties from 6 separate locations to operate from inside the new campus site. Nowadays, the university has 10 faculties, 7 of them operating in the new campus in 2 buildings. There are more than 10,000 students served by a dedicated 270 full-time teaching staff and 100 part-timers. Most of the students come from our county and neighboring ones. 28% of them are foreign students, and around 1,300 students are hosted in our dormitories on site. Our campus site, being one of the youngest university campuses in Romania, had the opportunity to implement newer technologies. The building's envelopes are energy efficient, glazing is specially treated, centralized heating and cooling using fan coils and other technologies are employed. This is the status of our campus site construction in 2009. The engineering faculty was under construction, the life sciences faculty as well, and only one of the student dormitories was operational, with 2 others under construction. In 2010, the ground basis for the university's research institute were set, financed from a new funding, half of the 50 million euros being spent for the building and its specific installations, the other half being used for high-tech research equipment endowment. In 2016, the following buildings were operational: the engineering faculty, the research institute, and all 3 student dorm buildings. The EU-funded project ended, and with our first statement towards a sustainable and green campus, the institute building is powered by sun and wind. Research, development, and innovation activities in our university began in '92, when the first R&D department at national level for energy and environment was created. The department conducted over 110 national and around 30 international projects in its first 10 years. The first Central European building integrated photovoltaic installation was developed by our team and was operational in 2002 with a 10 kilowatts peak power installed, and it was financed through an FP6 project. The Institute's building is fully operational from 2016, and it achieved its design capabilities from the point of view of energy efficiency and carbon footprint. Our open access data can be studied from publicly available PV systems on SMA Sunny portal page and from Victron Energy VRM World. During last 4 years of PV operation, we obtained over 150 tons CO2 reduction. Our institute carbon footprint is further reduced by employing HVAC energy recovery in conjunction with the sophisticated building automation and control system. The system operates scenarios like loads optimization, ambient temperature integral curve point set points, PID with time lock cascade forecasting, and PID interlock with predictive delivery temperatures. The system achieved 13% efficiency in gross electric energy consumption. The building was purposely constructed on the east-west axis for BIPV sun shading installation. Facade photovoltaic modules were custom built to retain the same color aspect. Rooftop photovoltaics mixes 3 different material types. We installed 3 different rooftop small wind turbines and hybrid connection with the PV systems, and 2 10 kilowatts peak power each at ground level on 20 meters high poles. The solar thermal installation is used as heat input for the HVAC-R and is also based on 3 different technologies. All installed RES has double role: research platform for different technologies and energy input. Building operations are connected to national grid with option to export electricity. Environmental monitoring is done for sun parameters, wind parameters, and air quality. Energy monitoring is employed over electric and thermal vectors. The PV installations are connected in various electrical schemes. PV1, it's a rooftop on-grid installation. PV2, it's a building integrated photovoltaic sun shading storage-based hybrid wind system. PV3, it's a BIPV curtain self-consumption system. PV4, the sun shading microgrid operation covering essential loads and the entire IT infrastructure. And PV5, it's a sun shading off-grid system for the solar thermal installation power needs. In this schematic, you can observe the local energy system less PV interconnections. The wind turbines are used in 2 mounting positions, rooftop and ground-based. WT1 is located at 24 meters altitude from Earth with a horizontal 10 kilowatts rotor. WT2 is mounted at 18 meters height with a vertical axis 10 kilowatt turbine. For the rooftop installations, WT3, we have 2 turbines of 1 kilowatt horizontal and vertical axis and 1 3 kilowatts hybrid Darius Savonius with magnetic levitation mounting. In this schematic, you can observe the less wind turbines interconnections. The solar thermal installation consists in 3 independent hydraulic systems. ST1, it's comprised of flat plate collectors. ST2, heat pipe collectors. ST3, it's a mix of the previous. Storage in 3000 liter buffers is located in the basement, where 2 absorption chillers convert hot into cold water for summertime HVAC cooling regime. In this schematic, you can observe how the solar thermal installation interconnects with the HVACR building system. All described infrastructure is going to be piloted in the framework of the Horizon 2020 ELAND project, which my colleague Heidi Tuiskula had previously presented. The project aims at decarbonizing energy islands with the use of a special toolbox set, along with the technical use cases, stakeholders engagement, and business cases, which are being actively developed. All project goals are going to be demonstrated in 3 pilot sites. They have different geography, demography, sociography, and maturity in terms of community and end user activities. Implementation of different energy vectors, including storage, amount of renewables in the local energy mix, and variety of loads that call for an efficient and an intelligent management system. In our pilot site, the first use case that is going to be tested is called the integration of multi-vector LES management in the EMS for 1 office building, 2 faculty buildings, the research institute, and 3 student dormitory buildings. The system will allow future developments as well. On-site constructions are ongoing for 1 new faculty building, EV research facility, a 500 seats amphitheater, and 2 more student dormitory buildings. The Research Institute RES infrastructure is going to be used for multi-site vector simulations. A second use case scenario, optimization of operation for LES, is going to be tested between all 3 local power transformers and the existing loads. Some other scenarios are going to be tested as well in the Research Institute's buildings, such as shift building loads using demand side management, optimal scheduling of thermal and electrical storage, and storing excess generation in the thermal network. So what's after? ELAND represents our first step into better defining a strategy and action plan towards a carbon neutral campus. In our ongoing design, in the first place, we want to take advantage from the 500 meters of proximity to Yalomița River, considering a microhydro with storage. In the second phase, a district heating and cooling network is going to help optimize the campus building internal environment for a healthy and comfortable place. This DAC is going to be supported by heat pumps. For us to surpass sustainability levels and become an active energy island, we are going to employ concentrated photovoltaic trackers for electricity export to other energy islands and the grid. This concludes my presentation. I hope you will revisit the recording and get inspired in your own projects. If there are any questions, I'll be online to answer them. Sunny regards from our side. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doreen. That was super good. Very interesting. We already have a lot of questions coming your way. One question here. So how did you manage to obtain 13% reduction by using building automation BACS, for example?
Well, before that, I want to mention that the values were measured during the last 3 years. Manual adjustments were programmed in the building automation and control systems operations, and we also made some software alongside with the electrical reconfigurations in our PV generators.
Okay, okay. You also mentioned a self-sufficiency level of 33%. Are you already using electrical storage on site for this?
Well, yes, we have 4 stationary lead-acid battery banks, in total 100 accumulators, installed in the basement of our institute, and they are charged by the facade photovoltaics.
Okay. We have a question also from the panel here, and for everyone, there is the question and answers in the below of the screen where you can ask questions, and we will of course be happy to answer them live. So people are thanking you for the presentation. What about windmills, Dorian? Is that something that you are thinking of in the campus?
Yeah, we are already operating 5 wind turbines, and for future plans, we are trying to install a micro hydro with storage, and maybe 3 generation is also being considered.
Okay. So then, in relation to your future plans, does it mean that you are prepared to go full electric on site?
Yes, we do, for the entire campus site.
Wow. All right. Thank you very much, Dorian, for your inspiring presentation. I'll now take over the screen again, and we'll take the last speaker before the break. Let me just share the screen. So our last speaker in this session of the webinar is Mr. Sergio Herraiz from the University of Girona. We're very happy to have you here, Sergio, because you will be able to tell us a bit more about the actual technical tools that are going to function as the backbone of many of the pilot implementations. So please feel free to take the screen and let us know a little more about the actual technical implementations in the ELAN project.
Okay, thank you so much for the introduction. I think that you can see me now, and I'm going to share my presentation. Let's see. I think that you can now see the presentation. Well, as Thomas introduced, and when talking a little about the technical tools in support of carbon neutral public energy islands, and focusing on the tools that we are developing in the ELAN project. And Thomas has commented, I am from the University of Girona. Just for introducing Girona, this University of Girona is located in Catalonia, in the northeastern side of Spain, just about 60 kilometers from the border with France. Well, this is a little bit content of my presentation today. An introduction to the topic, a description about the technical tools that we are developing in the ELAN projects, and a final section about the benefits that are expected from a technical point of view with the developing of the ELAN toolbox. Well, what is the objective from a technical point of view of the ELAN project, of the development of the ELAN toolbox? So just in a few words, is to optimize the use of the energy, to decide when and how to produce, to consume, and to store energy, meaning that those assets that are dispatchable, so and somehow control them to maximize the use of the local renewable energy resources in some as Lorin says, some university, in case of the land project and in the port of Hor, or the technological park of Hualca in Spain. But the idea, as Heidi commented in her presentation, is that this toolbox or this tool that has been developed in the project is open to be used in other scenarios. What is the main challenge of this project is to work in this multi-vector energy scenario. It means that not only consider the electrical energy vector, but other vectors. Well, I feel a bit sorry about this. This figure just was presented in Heidi's presentation, but it's just remark this issue that we are dealing not only we are seeing the blue line, not focusing in one single energy vector like electricity energy vector, but also consider other energy vectors are thermal energy or gas, and also the interaction with them, the conversion from one kind of energy to another. For example, for the local, from electricity to thermal, through the use of HVAC devices, or from gas to thermal, through the use of gas boilers, etc. Just going a little bit deeper in with the technical part of the project. This is a quite simple overview of the architecture that is that's been used or was going to apply it in the project. In the bottom side of this figure, you have let's say the local energy system. So it means that the infrastructure, the building, the port, the neighbor community, where the assets are installed. Asset means the production assets, the local renewable energy assets, the consumptions, the different kind of consumptions this infrastructures could have, the storage assets, let's say the batteries, the thermal storage, etc., and also electrical vehicles, because this kind of load is going to be considered also in the project. In this field side is also the actuators. I mean, all the loads that are dispatchable. So this is the control in this part of the system, and also all the information that can come from the building management systems. Let's say sensors, indoor temperatures, for example, or presence sensors, so they can be included in this part also. Then obviously all this information, all these assets needs to integrate it to an intermediate, let's say, actor. Let's say in this case, the energy management system. And in the upper side of the figure, you have what we call the service store. Is the different modules or different tools that are needed to be implemented to reach this goal, that to optimize the use of the local energy, renewable energy resources in the infrastructure. Later on, I will comment a little deeper, a little bit about these different actors. But just to introduce them, here we have the four tools that are being developed in the land project: the data preprocessing application, the energy forecaster, the optimal scheduler, and the multi-vector simulator. there is an actor, let's call an enterprise service bus that acts as a, let's say, facilitator between the information on field site and the advanced tools that are developing in the project. And in the left side of the future, and in the figure, you have there is a need to also to have another additional data sources. For example, weather forecasting for producing the energy forecastings, and the right side of the future, the user interfaces. User interfaces related with the operation of the system, and also the user interfaces to visualize the results or the KPIs that allows to assess the benefits of the toolbox. Just going a little deeper in these technical tools, in the bottom side, as I commented, there's the system infrastructure, or if needed, the updated infrastructure with the energy measurement devices or the actuators or sensors, etc. That maybe they are needed to implement or to achieve the objectives that the objectives that wanted to be gotten in the sorry, in the pilot site. And above this infrastructure, basically there are the energy measurement devices, actuators, the sensors, the electric vehicle chargers. There is this energy management systems that integrates all this information in one single device. The enterprise service bus, as I commented briefly, actuates as a facilitator. I mean, it's a system that enables the integration of all the previous systems, all the components on the field site, and the advanced software tools that are in the, let's say, in the upper side of the tool. It also enables integrate, as I commented, external data sources. And as Heidi commented, the idea of this tool bus is that the tool bus has to be modular, has to be easy to expand, and easy to let's say to reconfigure it or to adapt it to the specific requirements of the site. So this characteristic that the use this and implement this enterprise service bus allows that. I'm coming back to the previous slide. That between the different actors, and actors I mean the local energy system and the different modules that we have in the service store, there is not a direct communication between them. All the communication goes through the enterprise service bus. Then this way, these modules that are being developed in the project, these modules that are in the upper side of the slide, can be modified, can be added other modules in order to improve or to add new functionalities if they are sorry, if they are needed. About the service store, here is where there are the advanced tools. The advanced meaning that we are using advanced algorithms to develop this kind of tools, basically based in the use of artificial intelligence or machine learning algorithms. The two first modules, they are not final models in the sense that they provide results, but the results are going to be used by the other two models. The data preprocessing application is just a module to guarantee the quality of the data that is collected in the field, in the sense that in this module is going to be it's gonna be this procedure to cleanse the data, to input a value if there is missing ones, resampling, and optation of profilings. Then a forecaster, the meaning is quite obvious. Is for to decide when and how to consume on a store. We need to know the expected demand or the expected consumption in the site, and also estimate the expected production, the photovoltaic production, the wind production, etc. In order with this information to decide when to consume from the renewable store, or when to storage, or the demand, if there is some flexibility, when to consume this energy. The optimized scheduler, the multivector simulator, there are final tools in the sense that provides the results that are going to be used directly by the operator of the site. The difference between the two tools is the optimal scheduler is dealing with a short-term operation. It means that this scheduling I commented before is going to be performed from the next day, the ahead scheduling, and during the day there will be some kind of rescheduling according to maybe to a more accurate forecasting in a more short-term operation. In this case, as I commented, this optimized scheduler calculates the optimized scheduler for all the dispatchable assets, considering the diverse type of assets of the less and various parameters. And parameters, it mean that the forecast of the production and demand. Also, the goal is considering also reducing the cost of the exploitation, of the cost of the energy consumed. If the objective includes to reduce this cost, the energy prices obviously can be considered, and obviously the operational constraints of the assets of the site. Multivector simulator, however, is a tool that deals with the long-term planning, and this tool what is going to provide is to help the operator of the system to decide the investment planning to install let's say local renewable energy resources or storage resources to improve the operation of their system. So in this, how this tool is to provide information. It's going to be basically simulates a long-term dispatch of the assets in different scenarios, with the goal to aid future investments planning, providing this optimal sizing on individual assets. In somehow this is the tool that like the previous one, if one site has not the resources or has not the enough resources, the tool that allows the operator of the site to decide which kind of investment to do in order to then use to optimize their site. Finally, the user interfaces that provides information to the final user. We will have these three ones. The first one is the day-to-day operation. It means the user interface that provides the data, the content, let's say the consumption, then the generation, the storage that we have along the day. Another user interface is dealing with the short-term operation, with this optimization in this horizon, and this user interface is going to provide not only the results, but more important, the KPIs, the key performance indexes, to assess the impact of the benefit of the schedulings that they're going to provide by the tool. Meaning these KPIs, for example, the reduction in CO2 emissions, the reduction in electricity from the grid, the demand covered by local renewable generation, etc. And the third user interface that is dealing particularly with the multi-vector simulator is to provide first to define the scenarios to simulate, and then to provide the results and the KPIs to assess the investment in new distributed assets. The benefits, more or less, have been commented before. Based on the, let's say, the architecture I described, and the toolbox is going to provide, or is going to be implemented in the set that the methodologies are implemented in a model way. In this, because of this, the tool is going to be customizable, expandable, and with the use of this energy enterprise, energy service bus, it's also when we is dealing with this characteristic of the system will be interoperable. I mean, we're following, let's say, open standards, open protocols, open. So the idea is that as I commented before, additional tools, additional, or let's say, in this characteristic of spendable, this updating of the tools, or updating of the scenarios that can be considered in this tool, is going to be easy to do it. Just to conclude, the benefits in this case, I think, is one of the big benefits of this project, is the optimal scheduling of the multi-vector energy system assets together, not only one kind of energy vector, but all energy vectors existing in a site that are going to be scheduled together. The use of the end user flexibility as a resource, is there is some kind of flexibility in the demand. Let's say, for example, the HVAC or the electrical vehicles. So this flexibility is going to be used also. And then, to conclude, to optimize the storage, not only considering the generation, but also considering this possibility of have this end users flexibility. And with this, and my presentation, if you have any question or comment, I will be glad to answer them using the chat.
Thank you very much, Sergio, for this tour de force through the different tools that we're using in the project. There's already a project or a question coming in relation to the fact that these energy vectors are often owned and operated by different entities, and it's of course interesting to also look at that and how we're tackling that, and how we are looking at that in the project. Can you comment very briefly on that?
You mean the different ownership of management?
Ownerships, exactly.
Yes. Well, I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure to answer this question in this moment. I mean, we are focusing in the technical part.
Okay.
In fact, in fact, if there is well, no. In fact, there is owners first. I mean, they're going to use different kinds of, let's say, scenarios or maybe goals. I think that in this, I'm not quite sure in this moment, or I cannot answer 100% if these goals are different or something like that. How to manage it, how to be managed in the project.
Okay, no problem. There's also a couple of other questions coming up on the screen, and we will be answering those online. I can just comment on what Sergio said in relation to the ownership. One of the things that we're also doing in the ELAN project is as part of the implementation, we are actually doing site visits. We are discussing with all the different owners of the different assets to ensure that kind of a collaboration comes in place. So we are maybe not so much right now from a technical point of view, but at least from an understanding and a commitment and engagement point of view, we are trying to make collaboration between the different stakeholders an important part of the project. Thank you very much, Sergio.
You're welcome, Thomas.
What will happen now is that we are entering into the phase of having a small break. We will be launching the next session at 10:25. There are some questions on your screen. I hope you'll be answering those before going on a small coffee break. And then in 10 minutes time, we will be announcing here online a quiz. There'll be a lot of fame and glory for the winner, and obviously a lot of interesting questions about energy. It will start in 10 minutes, and you will see the login information here on the screen in 10 minutes time. But please have a short break, stretch your leg, do some jumping up and down to get the blood running, and come back here again in about 20 minutes, 10:25, where we'll be starting with the perspective from the Compile project and entering into discussions about community engagement, customer engagement, and business models. Thank you very much, and see you soon again.